Are you hanging in there with me? I sure hope so. There are any number of issues that should be of concern to New Mexicans that are not necessarily well covered by the media, and sometimes not even barely covered. Today on Women's Focus, I have two guests who will talk to and inform us about a major one in particular, and that is WIP, the Waste Isolation Pilot Project, and the Department of Energy's expansion plans. Joining me today is Joni Ahrens. She's the Executive Director of Concerned Citizens for Nuclear Safety and has been for years, as well as Laura Wachempino. She's a member of the Multicultural Alliance and the Laguna Acoma Coalition for a Safe Environment. This is, I feel, an important opportunity for us to hear what's going on and to be able to have our voices heard, and in fact, without leaving our homes. I welcome you, Laura and Joni. I know you must be in your homes now. I'm so glad that you can join me today.
Thank you, Carol.
Yes, thank you.
So we're speaking to Laura. Where are you today?
I'm at home in the Pueblo of Acoma.
And Joni, you're up north, right?
Yes, in Santa Fe.
Santa Fe. Okay, good. So I thought we could start out by you giving us a very brief background on WIP in general. I'm guessing many people are familiar with it, but if not, a general background. And then we'll talk about the latest in regards to WIP right now and what's happening and why you have come to talk to us today. So who would like to do that background?
Do you want me to do that, Laura?
Yes, please.
Okay. WIP is the Waste Isolation Pilot Plant. It's important to know that it's a pilot plant, and it was developed to prove that radioactive, toxic, and hazardous waste from the research, development, and manufacturing of nuclear weapons could be isolated from the environment for 10,000 years. So WIP is located in the salt beds of southeastern New Mexico, 2,150 feet below the surface of the earth. And it is more than halfway full with waste that have been shipped from Idaho National Laboratory, the Rocky Flats facility that was located near Denver, from the Savannah River site in South Carolina, the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. WIP opened March 26, 1999, and it's supposed to close in 2024 and begin a 10-year period where they will close the facility. In February 2014, there were two accidents, two releases from WIP, where first there was a fire on February 5th, where oily rags caught fire in the underground, and there was a fire. Then on February 14th, 2014, one or more drums that were shipped from Los Alamos National Laboratory exploded in the underground and contaminated the tunnels and the shaft in the underground. 22 workers were exposed, and the plume went nearly 150 miles to the northeast. So as a result, the facility was closed for 3 years, and it's back up to operating now.
Okay, that's a good little history of it, bringing it up to the present. So let me go to Laura now and ask what is going on there now that is of big concern to many individuals who keep up with what's going on at WIP. And there are quite a few of you.
I think one of the big concerns that I have is the DOE's construction of a new shaft that is not needed. And it's a large size that almost, there's only one reason that it could have been constructed, and that would be to expand the WIP site and its mission.
Explain in terms of WIP what a new shaft is. What is a shaft?
In this case, it would be a utility shaft that would be used for ventilation. At least that's what the Department of Energy is telling us.
Right. And I would like to add that the Department of Energy is spending millions of dollars on a new filter building that will be done in 1 year. And that will provide over 100% of the air that's needed by the workers who are now working in personal protective equipment and with ventilation in the contaminated parts of the WIP site, in the underground WIP site. And so there's really, DOE has already fixed the problem of ventilation with the new filter building. And as I said, it will come online in 1 year.
So what about in some of the recent material that I read, that the new WIP shaft, while not being a ventilation shaft, is a utility shaft, and that's designed to bring more waste and new waste to an expanded WIP. Is that accurate as far as what either or both of you know?
Well, I'm reading a press release from August 21st, 2019, that says the Department of Energy, Carlsbad Field Office, and Nuclear Waste Partnership announced the award of a key utility shaft construction contract at WIP. So you're correct. It's just, what is the definition of a utility shaft? Probably it can be used for many things besides ventilation.
Well, it sounds like from what we're talking about thus far that I think you're sort of both saying loud and clear that a ventilation shaft is not needed. So if that's the case and you're not sure what they're going to do with the utility shaft, I don't know why I'm saying shift. You don't know what they're going to be doing with the utility shaft. Can you talk about the concerns that a number of people have and what those concerns are about? And can I assume that you and others are thinking that this new shaft, the utility shaft, will not be good, will not be safe for New Mexicans?
I would venture that the shaft would allow an expansion of WIP. And as Joni mentioned, WIP has a limited lifespan that would end in 2024. It has a limited mission that allows it to store transuranic waste.
Explain transuranic waste for those who are not familiar with what that is.
Joni?
Oh, transuranic waste means that it's beyond uranium in the periodic table. And so the next element is plutonium. So all of this waste is plutonium-contaminated waste, and it needs to be isolated from the environment because a millionth of a gram of plutonium in your lungs will cause cancer. And the main pathway for plutonium to get into your body is inhalation and ingestion. So some people say it's the most dangerous element on the planet.
So I was reading that the New Mexico Environment Department gave WIP a temporary authorization so they can start digging the shaft without a permit. Is that of concern to you?
That's extremely concerning because it's allowing the Department of Energy to go ahead with the utility shaft construction, and it leaves the public without a voice. And in the normal permitting procedure, this would be noticed to the public and provide the public an opportunity to comment on this. And the public's voice should be taken into account when a final decision is made. So people like myself think this is an end run around the permitting process. And by the time this construction is noticed to the public, there's not much we can do anymore. It will have been built.
So if I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that it's just that we won't. There's nothing we can do about it at that point.
Right, and the Environment Department issued the temporary authorization, even though they knew that the new filter building was coming online in a year.
So they wouldn't need the new shaft for ventilation because they have the new one coming on in a new building.
Exactly. And then they waited 7 weeks to release a draft permit for public comment. So in those 7 weeks, the Department of Energy began drilling the new shaft. So they've already prejudiced the process. They've already, what is the other word for prejudice?
Tainted?
Tainted the process, too.
Tainted?
They tainted the process, yeah. And it's not, that's not okay, because it's going to be a very time-consuming project for the public to oppose this, and we need help right now in others opposing it as well. And there's opportunities on the CCNS website at nuclearactive.org. There's a sample action alert, a sample public comment that you can use in Word that you can change according to what your concerns are, as well as a timeline of WIP for people that are new to this issue in New Mexico, to learn more about this process, and also the promises that the Department of Energy has made to the people of New Mexico, that WIP would close in 2024. And right now they're saying that WIP will close. For a while they were saying WIP would close in 2050. Then they said 2080. Now they're saying there's no end date. And they plan to bring surplus plutonium from Savannah River site, high-level waste from the Hanford site, along with other waste from other sites around the country. So we need to get active. Dust off your Stop WIP T-shirts and signs and get involved again. Thank you.
And I'm sure there are many people who have not been involved before. So it sounds like that they're saying it's a ventilation shift. It's really clear to most of you that makes no sense, because there's going to be a new building with ventilation. And so that is the reason to be rather sure, would you say, that they have plans of bringing in new waste. So the New Mexico Environment Department, as you stated, has given WIP that authorization, a temporary authorization, so they can start digging, and it sounds like without a permit. What would be the reason they would do that? Are permits normally required for something like this?
I believe a permit modification should be required for this type of construction.
So it's of concern that the Environment Department in New Mexico gave this temporary authorization.
I am concerned because the New Mexico Environment Department gave that temporary authorization without an opportunity for public input and comment.
Right, which should be the procedure typically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly, because the hazardous waste laws require public review and comment when changes are happening at the facility. And right now the comments are due on the new shaft on August 11th to the Environment Department.
This is Women's Focus that you're in tune to. My name is Carol Boss. And my guests this afternoon are Joni Ahrens. She's the Executive Director of Concerned Citizens for Nuclear Safety, and also Laura Rachempino, who is a member of the Multicultural Alliance and the Laguna Acoma Coalition. So there's a couple of things I want to ask you, which is for the listeners' sake, if listeners wanted to find out more about this, of what's happening and the issuance of a temporary permit and what it's for, and just find out the facts, where can you send them where they can easily find that information? And then I would like one of you to talk about what you would like listeners to do, where they can go to do it, and make it easy. So, and that if they're listening now, they can grab pen and paper and write down a website for information and where to go to write. It doesn't have to be a long note, does it? Is it going to be an email or a hard copy letter? That's preferable.
Well, let me take the first stab at that. I got my information from the Concerned Citizens for Nuclear Safety website, and I think it's very helpful because it gives a little bit of background about what's happening
Good.
at the waste isolation pilot plant, and it even provides some sample comments.
Joni, can you give the website for Concerned Citizens for Nuclear Safety?
Yes, it's nuclearactive.org.
Okay, easy. Nuclearactive.org. So, folks, are you writing that down so you have a chance to speak up about this? Not requiring you to go outdoors. It's not requiring you to go to any protests or asking you to go to. It's these letters that are really important. So, nuclearactive.org.
At nuclearactive.org, there's an action alert that you can share with your friends and family. There's a timeline if you want to understand more about WIP and its agreements with the state of New Mexico. And there's a sample public comment letter that you in Word that you can cut and paste and put it in your email and send it, modify it and send it, or there's an actual Word letter that you can fill out and you can pop it in the mail, whichever your preference is. But we need to show opposition to this proposed shaft because it's not needed, and it facilitates a forever WIP. It does not. It allows DOE to ignore the 2024 closure date.
Yeah, well, that's kind of huge.
Yes, it is, and it's going to be a big fight when the hazardous waste permit is available for public comment and review and comment, and then a public hearing. And so the groups that will be taking that forward need financial support to be able to put together the best case possible to oppose forever WIP.
Right, as opposed to a WIP that had an end in sight, supposedly, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I think what I'm going to do, I'm just saying what I'm going to do because I don't trust the mail right now. And there's a deadline on getting these. Your voice is heard through email or letter. And I think you said the deadline is August 11.
Yes.
So that's not that far away. So either way will work. And if you want to do a letter, it's probably best to do it really soon. It seems like online at this moment might be safer to make sure it gets to where it's supposed to be. Well, I thank both of you and all the many others who have been working on these kind of issues for so many years. It's really pretty unbelievable, and you're still at it, and it doesn't go away. Just like the danger of the waste doesn't go away. The need to work on keeping it being deposited where they want it. Well, anyway, It doesn't go away. It hasn't. But thank you for your work. And I thank you. So thanks so much, Joni Ahrens. And thank you, Laura Wachampino, for joining me today.
Thank you, Carol.
Yes, it was a pleasure.
That's it for Women's Focus this week. I'm Carol Boss. Thanks for listening. You can catch these interviews and more on KUNM's 2-week archive at kunm.org. Coming right up is Raices.